All right, welcome everybody to agentpursuit.com and our Agent Pursuit Business Mastery series here as part of our CR Live series. We're here today with Mike Starr, and Mike has done such a phenomenal job of building a business based off of referrals, and I mean, you've been successful for many, many years, and we wanted to bring Mike on to share his knowledge with us and also share how he's become a top producer so consistently. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm all that you say, but I do my best every day, put my best foot forward. So.
We're having a bronze mold made of you, a bust in the office. We'll
scare people away, hey?
That's right.
Well, we like you.
Thank
your
you.
wife likes you.
She does sometimes.
So the
most
three
of the time.
most important people in your life love you, so that's all that matters.
That's
so
true.
let's start off with your journey. So Lindsey mentioned you've been doing this for a while.
I have, yeah.
A little bit about yourself, journey into real estate.
Yeah, how'd you get up to this point now?
Well, it's funny actually. I always wanted to be a realtor,
Really?
even when I was a kid. Yeah, there was a trigger for me when I was a kid, and that's a story for another day because it's a long story. But basically, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a realtor. So when I first kind of got out of high school, I went right away to go into real estate school. Was my journey. That's what I wanted to do.
This is so refreshing. Most of the videos that we do, people are like, I never wanted to be a realtor.
Yeah.
I
ran out of money,
broke.
Yeah.
This is why Mike is.
So actually, my aunt, she knew an owner of Sutton Group at the time, and I went and interviewed with him. And I was 18 at the time, and he basically told me, yeah, if you want to be a realtor, you can come in under my wing. I'll teach you everything I know, and you can become a realtor. But I don't suggest you do that. You're 18 years old, you've never owned a home, let alone help someone buy one. So, that trust level is probably not going to be there. So his advice was to go out and get some life experience and come back if I still wanted to do it later in life, which I took that advice actually. So
That's good advice.
yeah. So I didn't actually go right into real estate, but I did when I think I was about 24 when I went back in. After I had a little bit of experience of my own. So
that's still pretty young at 24.
Yeah, I was still pretty young, but I had already purchased and sold my own properties, actually. I had a CIR agent that helped me do that.
Fantastic.
She's still with CIR today. Yeah. And when I first got out of the gates, I interviewed a bunch of brokerages and I went to CIR. That's where I started my career, actually, in 2004 was with CIR, which you guys know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So today, and we're going to talk about this in more depth, but today, your primary sources of business come from where?
Well, it's a mix, honestly. Primary sources of business, of course, are repeat and referral because I've built a database over a long period of time, and clients tend to come back and use me if they're happy with my services and refer me to others. But I also get quite a bit off of internet. I do a lot of internet lead generation, nice. So that's a big factor, and also working with other realtors.
Oh, explain that one a little bit more, working with other realtors.
Well, I work with a few realtors. There's a group of us that kind of work closely together, and we share leads and generate stuff together. So
nice.
We're doing different kind of platforms, like a few of the guys really like to door knock, so they go out and do that and get lead generation that way, and then I'll work on follow-up and stuff like that through that aspect, right?
Nice.
So we do things differently. I like the online lead generation, so I'll share those leads with them, and vice versa. Yeah.
So in terms of nurturing on the repeat referral side, I know that's one thing that you've been successful at. Did you always focus on that, or did you decide to make that a priority? Was that a conscious choice to work with some repeat referral or to nurture your database more and more?
Yeah, I mean, starting out, you can't really do that because you don't have much of a database to begin with.
Yes.
So it's more you're more doing prospecting every day, trying to grow your database and grow your business. But yeah, definitely there's a point in time or a point in my career, and I can't pinpoint exactly when that was, where you started to focus more on the people you do business with. Because you get more and more of it, more repeat, more referral business, right? I'd say, like, as a new agent, you probably don't start seeing that turnaround until maybe year 5 or more.
Yeah.
At least in my case, that's what I found. Because people don't typically move every year. They're moving every 5 to 7, right?
Totally.
So to get a repeat client, that's usually what's happening, right?
Now, I just feel like we should off script already. Quick question.
Yeah, no worries.
So you said that you had to 2004, you started up, you got no business. What worked? What did you start doing to get your business going?
Question.
I'll tell you, 2004 was tough. I went in with expectations that I was going to do all kinds of things and I was going to build this great business, and it was hard.
I've been dreaming about it since you were 8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. That's actually true.
I didn't draw this up in my mind like this. So.
Yeah. I honestly thought that my family and my friends would all use me as a realtor because I'm a realtor, and they all knew I was a realtor. But I found that was the toughest form of business to get, because the fact that they did know me, they knew I was new, inexperienced, green, that kind of thing. So they didn't want to use me.
Interesting.
So, my aunts and uncles were selling houses with other realtors, and I was like defeated.
I had the exact same experience. I told, even when I started a team up, I told people your friends and family might end up being your biggest disappointment sometimes. So often they would refer me to somebody because they're like, oh, well, you go cut your teeth on somebody else, but they were reluctant because I was still new.
It's true. And the funny thing is it turns around after a certain amount of time. After you've been a realtor and you've shown that you continue to be a full-time producing realtor, they start to trust you, and rightfully so. And then that's when you start to see that turnaround. Your friends and family start using you more and more. And that's a really big pivoting point in a real estate career, I think, because you really do need that sphere of influence to help you grow.
Absolutely.
So the beginning, the first deals were people you didn't know, and you just had to fight for somebody to trust you to give you a deal. It was not from your sphere of influence.
No, actually, I had a mentor at CIR when I first started. So the first 6 months or so, I kind of was trying to do things on my own. It wasn't working very well. And then CIR had a real estate trainer at the time named Len Fawcett.
Yeah.
And he was like a FSBO king.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So he basically just said every single time we'd meet up is that you just need to start banging on doors and start talking to people and start, promoting yourself. And that's what I started doing. I just started following his advice, and I started my career going after for sale by owners and talking to them and seeing how I could help them. And that's all it was just getting in front of them and explaining what I could do differently. And it was hard, and it was a lot of work, and it was time consuming.
Yes.
But
and did you convert some of them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My first listing, actually, I still have at home on my home office. I have it framed. I have the for sale by owner feature sheet. And right on it, it said, no agents, and it was highlighted.
Really?
Yeah.
And you converted it into a listing?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Yeah,
That's
and
great that you still have that in your office.
I do, yeah. It's one of the things that reminds me every day when I'm working that when things get hard, I look at that and remember how hard it really was to start.
Yeah.
And it really, truly is. So anyone that's going through it now, just stick with it and persevere, because that's what it takes. It takes a lot of dedication in this business to get ramped up and get going and get good at things, because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah. And some uncomfortable activities, like those obviously aren't comfortable phone calls to make.
Yeah, the one thing that Len always told me actually was, don't worry about everything else for now. Just get good at this, because if you get good at this, everything else will become easy.
Yes.
And that always stuck with me, and it was true.
Sure.
It was one of the hardest things to do, but once you got good at doing it, everything else was really easy.
Yeah, if you're willing to do the things that people aren't willing to do.
Absolutely.
And you can do that where you're picking up the phone, making basically cold calls.
Yeah.
The rest is there isn't too much more in the business that's much scarier than that. So
Some of my biggest clients today, the best referral clients, they came from cold calling and door knocking early in my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
do you ever do that now, still today?
Yeah, like with the people I work with, right? Earl King, Dick Brown, Graham Kennelly, we all kind of work together.
Oh, those
as a
are good
group.
names.
Yeah.
That's a good group of names.
And we do things together, and we kind of, we work off of one another, right? And we do the things we like, and kind of use our skill sets that way to, really help each other.
Yeah, well, Graham built a hell of a business before real estate doing door knocking.
He did,
and
he did.
Some life experience on that side and
different
things.
Yeah,
Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question?
Keep going.
And then we're going to go back to the script. When you were doing those calls, and this is a question, so realtors have been really into scripts lately. Nobody's into role playing, but they're really into scripts. Were there certain?
How else do you learn the scripts?
It's
true.
It's true.
It's true.
Were there certain guides or scripts or resources that you followed or that you would recommend for somebody being like, yes, I want to door knock, or yes, I want a cold call, I don't know what to say?
Yeah, I mean, scripting is good, but you got to be able to think quick on your feet as well and be responsive to questions and stuff. You can't just script everything.
Yeah.
And if you are going to script, you should know your scripts inside and out. It should be canned. It should be something that you can draw it from the back of your mind and say very quickly and understand what you're saying. I find people try and rely on a script and hold a piece of paper when they're talking on the phone. Or
Sounds robotic.
Yeah, too robotic.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, you got to be real with people. Like, people can see through a script pretty quickly. You know, they don't want to feel like you're soliciting them, right? They want to feel like you're there to help them, and you're there to be in their
Those
corner.
were your phone calls, just very genuine. Picked up the phone. You weren't following anything. It was just.
Yeah, like when I started my career, I was definitely scripting, right? But I would do my own scripts typically.
Okay.
You know, I'd kind of write down the things that I'd say. I used to do point form, like kind of like what I wanted to get across. I wouldn't necessarily have like sentences or specific questions that I'd ask.
Right.
I'd have point form, and I'd have it in front of me and making sure that I was hitting those points. And I found that worked really well for me. But what works well for me might not work well for somebody else, right? So you got to do what's within your comfort zone and what you're comfortable doing, right?
So, so changing the conversation a bit here and going back to where you said that once your database starts trusting you, once you've been in the business for a few years, now you have an opportunity to bring people back. We know that the plague in real estate is keeping in touch with your database, as in people just don't do it. We ask a room of realtors, you know, how many of you believe you could keep touch with your real estate or your database better? Universally, 90% of the room puts up their hand. What kind of things do you do to touch base with your clients in your database?
Well, I mean, you can do some of the things that are touching everybody. You know, that sounded really bad, but you know what I'm saying.
In the most appropriate professional way, of course, yes.
But like a newsletter, right?
Yes.
That's probably number one. If
Yeah.
you have a really good newsletter.
And you do.
I do, yeah. So I send a newsletter monthly to all of my clients, right? And the thing is,
French
though,
or email?
Yes, thank you.
sorry, yes, it's via email.
Via email, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely via email. I mean, you can do newsletters too in the mail,
Yep.
physical letters as well. The one thing that I find with that is that a lot of people get wrong, in my opinion, is they're not sending relevant information, right?
Couldn't agree more.
You know, the worst thing you can do, it's almost worse to send them your 3-bean salad recipe for summer than it is to do nothing at all. Because it's horrible. When you're sending these kind of marketing pieces is what they are. People see through that, and you're not helping them in any way whatsoever. So why do it? You know,
Yeah.
Send them statistics on the market. Send them what oil prices are doing, or what's happening in the economy, or these kinds of things that are relevant to them that can
Yeah.
help them make proper decisions, right?
So your focus on content personally that you find works is content that is more business focused versus
Yeah.
the bean salad. Like I know that we have some realtors that are religiously do their Thanksgiving recipes or something, but they've done it for a very long time. They're their own recipes, and it's kind of that connection based, but it's
Sure.
less business focused. But you find that the business focused stuff works very well.
Yeah, I mean, my newsletter has a bit of a mix typically. So I do a lot of the statistics, what's going on in the marketplace,
Yep.
that kind of a synopsis. But I also put in there links to what's going around in Calgary, like what are the events, what are things that are happening,
Nice.
where can you take your kids, you know, that
So
kind of
some
thing.
good lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, so it's a resource for them,
Right.
right? So they look forward to getting the newsletter every month, and when they get it, they can click on the links and see, you know, what's going on. So it's pretty cool. Yeah,
That's
it
great.
works well. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
So from an individual standpoint, so you do that month over
Yeah.
month. What are a few more things that you do for, and I'm going to qualify that question. Some people will say they have their A client list, their B client list, their C client list, and how they reach out or the things they do are kind of dependent because they can't do for 400 what they might be able to do for 80. Do you distinguish between any of that, or do you kind of?
Yeah. I mean, I feel that there's no way you can potentially stay 100% in contact with a really large group of people. And I think you hit on the head. I think like around 80 to 100 is pretty much the max any one person can really do well.
Call it like your A list.
Yeah, but I try and reach out more by doing things that you know, entice me to do it. So like one example is one of the things I do. I play a game when I'm in the car when I'm driving between appointments. Is what I'll do is I'll take my phone, I'll go to contacts and I'll spin it, and then I call it like phone roulette.
Yeah.
And I hit it, and whoever it lands on, I call right there.
No matter what.
No matter what. I call them and I just say, hey, it's Mike. I was thinking about you. You know, what are you up to? What's new in life? You know,
Do you ever get somebody so random and you're like, oh gosh, and they're just like, wow, Mike, like thanks for calling.
Sometimes, yeah. You know, the funny, like sometimes I'll get people that I call often. So if I hit one of those, then I just spin it again because you know if I'm already in contact with somebody, it doesn't work really well. I use a really good CRM system as well that helps remind me to stay in contact with people. So if I'm not staying in contact with a specific contact, it will highlight them red and it'll show that, hey, you should be contacting this person.
Can you share what you're using?
Yeah, I use Contactually.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, which I really like. I mean,
I've heard great things about
Yeah.
Contactually.
it's good. They actually have a real estate insert that you can buy as well, part of that package that allows you to do different things.
They're a preferred vendor with Leading RE as well.
Oh, are they?
So
Okay, I didn't know that.
They are?
Yeah, I quite like them. I've been through quite a few different CRMs over the years, and I think that you know the thing that you hear a lot is the best CRM is the one that you use.
Yeah.
And that really is true. You know, because there's definitely cheaper options out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
But if they don't work and you're not using them, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. You guys also do some client events, correct?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that right?
correct. Yeah. So every year, Dick and I, we hold a client appreciation Christmas party in support of Meals on Wheels. So we do it right at the facility, and it's a lot of fun, and a lot of people come, and we have food, and Dick's wife Elaine, she sings, and it's amazing. Yeah, it really is. So
That's
yeah,
great.
We have a lot of fun with it.
I love events that let other people have the opportunity to feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
There's something about that's like you can go and you can have fun and you leave and you remember that for a minute.
Yeah.
But if you go and you can contribute and you feel like you have done something good, I think that experience lives with you a little bit longer.
It's true. It does. Yeah. And sorry.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say it's a lot of fun because what happens is everyone that comes. So we have a silent auction that we do in support of Meals on Wheels. So a lot of our clients, they'll actually donate the items that are going into the actual auction, right? And then
So
everyone's
great.
bidding on it, and it's a lot of fun because you try and outbid each other, and you make a game out of it. So
Yeah.
it can be fun. Yeah.
It's a great event.
Yeah.
And the clients feel like they're giving back. Like it's such a good thing.
Big win.
I mean, contribution is one of our human needs.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a
Exactly.
big thing. So
Yeah.
Okay, so back to a little bit of pure business. The 80-20 rule,
Yes.
which is just something very common that people say. If you had to say the most important activities that you do that achieve 80% of your results, what would you say those things are? The
So-
vital few.
Now,
Now,
because it's different depending on what stage of real estate you're in your
okay,
career.
let's say both
take
stages.
us
Right?
through the stages.
Take us through the stages.
So I would say, like, if you're a starting realtor,
Okay.
you should be spending 80% of your time prospecting, looking for new business. In that as well, you should be building sources, lead sources, right? So go with what works for you. Like for me now, I spend a lot of my time on internet,
Yeah.
right? That to me is something that I really like to do.
Yeah.
If you're more of a face-to-face person, then maybe going the door knocking route is better, right? Or going into networking and doing those kind of events or doing open houses. Whatever you do though, it's important to do it really well. I find that a lot of people will choose something to do or they'll follow what somebody else is doing and they don't do it very well. They just kind of are there, they're just present. I think that you have to take what you're doing and excel at it. So if you're going to choose to spend your time somewhere, like for example, if you're going to do internet lead generation, I do a lot of the paid stuff like the Google pay-per-click
Yep.
or the Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah, but honestly, organic leads I think are better. So if you can get into best practices in SEO, long chain keywords, stuff like that, and you can understand all that
Totally.
and do it well, then do that. But try not to diversify into too many things because you won't do anything well.
Like you can't be an open house expert and an internet lead expert
Right.
and a door knocking expert and a FISBO expert, plus.
Exactly. Like for me personally, I know that open houses work really well for a lot of realtors and they excel at them. I'm not that guy. I am probably the worst open house sitter
Really?
ever. Oh,
Really?
Yeah, I'm horrible.
I'm surprised at that.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
Why are
because
you
you're so
horrible?
personable.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that, I'm friendly with people and I can talk to people and all that kind of stuff, but my focus is not on picking up clients there.
Yeah.
It's to sell the house. So
Yeah.
I literally focus on that. If they tell me they don't like the house, then I'm done.
Like,
you don't want
this is
to buy
my
this house?
house.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
You should go to the next house. So I'm horrible at using it as a lead source, right? Where
Yeah, 'cause you're not there to get clients, you're there to sell this
No,
house.
that's correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, so I mean, I guess I'm good for the seller in that sense, where I'm trying to sell their house,
Perfect,
but yeah, I'm definitely not good at picking up business and utilizing it to go show them other houses or something like that. Where I know a lot of realtors, they do really well at that, and that's that's their thing, right?
What do you feel is the biggest waste of time that you have some experience that where you said, I'm going to put a ton of time and a ton of money into this, and for you personally, it didn't end up being worth it, or even just your experience working with other realtors where you see where they're putting their time and money and results just don't?
Again, I think it goes down to like mastering something. If you're not willing to go the distance, don't start.
Oh, so
right?
this is a personal story, but every now and then, just for fun, and it's a Thursday night, I'm like, Lynn's like, let's go play badminton. Yes. I'm like, you do what I mean? Like, why not? We have nothing else to do. We're sitting on the couch, or there's no, the Trico Center's right there. Let's just go play badminton for now. He's like, I have no intention of getting good at badminton. I'm like, that's not the point. I'm like, can't we just go? He's like, no. He's like, I'm not going to get good at badminton. He's like, I don't even want to bother.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to rent no courts. I'm not going to go and
He's like, I'm not going to buy a badminton racket. I'm like, seriously?
I refuse to do anything for fun. Is that you, Lindsay?
Right? Like, literally, like, unless I'm going to be VIP in this in the next 3 years, like, I will not play badminton.
Viewership world, it's not exactly like that.
I like that. You ask him to play badminton and see what he says. Anyways, that was a side story. But okay. But in general, if you're not willing to commit something, don't waste your time dabbling it for a few weeks. And
exactly.
Then,
okay. Like for example, when you go door knocking, you shouldn't just like walk up to some random doors and do a tour and knock on the doors and say, hey, do you want to sell your house? Like you should have market stats with you. You should have professional door knocking that you can leave on the door if they're not home. You should have all the activity, the sales activity that's happened. You should know every house that's sold, and because the neighbors they're gonna know.
Absolutely.
They're gonna ask you, well, what did that one down the street sell for, anyways? And if you sit there and say, I don't know, well, you need to know those things. Like you have to be the expert when you're going into that community. Right?
I love it because I say that, and you've mentioned actually so many different varieties of prospecting. You mentioned networking. You mentioned keep in touch with your clients. You mentioned door knocking, cold calling, like all these types of things, and all of them work.
They do.
All of them work. Open houses, they all work. It's just you need to find the best practices, the how to commit to it, and figure it out and do it and master that. And I love that because even the advice from Len that you got, same thing. It's like get good at this. Like get really, really good, and you can build a business. I know people who if they do open houses, they'll sit open house on Thursday night, 2 open houses on Saturday, 2 open houses on Sunday. I know people that will just do nothing but door knocking. All those things, and all of them work. So people always ask me, like, what works? It's like, well, back to the database, the thing you do, except you got to be prepared. You got to be committed to mastering it, like you said, in terms of like have your information ready, know what you're going to say, make sure you have the background research. You got to do a little bit of prep work, and then get out there and learn.
Also, make sure it's something you love doing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing because that's the easiest way to fail is to say, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to focus on cold calling. But you hate every single minute of it. Well, you're never going to succeed at it. It's going to come through on the phone, that kind of a thing, right? So you got to pick something that you really, truly love to do, because then that energizes you and makes you want to go forward and do it.
Yeah,
I agree. So you mentioned kind of being prepared and having things with you. As far as a successful, well-prepared campaign that you've run for your business from a marketing standpoint, what's one that's a little bit memorable to you where you're like, I did that one really good?
Like a marketing campaign?
Yeah, a marketing activity. Maybe it was an online thing. Maybe something for your clients. You sent out a newsletter. And it could even be a client event where it's like, we sent out this one email and then we called somebody. Just something that you did to generate business that had a plan, that was followed and executed.
One of the best ones I probably did was I partnered with another realtor from another company actually, and we put together a leaflet that we'd sent out, like a postcard, but like an oversized postcard. And we sent it all inner city communities. And
so how many people approximately would you say received it?
I think we did it to 4 or 5 communities.
Wow.
I think it was like Capitol Hill, Banff Trail.
Tons of homes.
But as what we did is we had it two-sided. On one side, it was we were looking for, because we had a couple of builder clients of ours that were looking for product to do some infills. So on one side, we had R2 50 by 120 lots for sale. That's what we were looking. We had builders in the area looking for specific lots. And we had a specific domain name for that would go to a splash page where they could register. And on the other side of that was that we had clients looking for infills.
Right.
Right? So when you're hitting an inner city area, there's kind of a mix of both.
Totally.
So we were hitting both of them on one pamphlet.
It's really good.
With separate domain names on either side that went to separate splash pages. So depending on what they had, they would go. And we got a ton of response from it and ended up getting several listings and several sales. And then we never did it again.
Oh,
Yeah,
note to
so-
self, yeah.
You never did it
Exactly. Yeah,
again?
no, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's probably something we're gonna do again.
I had one of our
No
realtors.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just to share a quick side story on this, one of our realtors sat in a coffee shop, put down $200 at the till, her and a mortgage broker, and the thing was they bought everybody's coffee when they came in, and the person at the till just said, hey, so-and-so at the back bought your coffee, here's their card. People came back, everything else, did 2 transactions from it. So, multiply 200 by,
they
the
sat
2
there for a few
transactions.
hours,
Yeah,
that
they
was
sat there for
it.
a few, well, $200 won't last that long, but yeah, people came back and stuff. And then I'm like, she's like, it worked fantastic. Well, how many times have you done this? She's like, well, just the once. Like, okay, wow.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
you might
It's
wanna
funny.
rinse and
You
repeat.
get busy though, right? You
Yeah,
get busy,
oh,
and
totally.
you kind of do
Yeah.
things in cycles in real estate. I find, right? When you get really
Yeah.
busy, then you're busy doing the business, and then when business starts to kind of taper off, you start saying, well, how do I fill that pipeline again?
That's right.
And it's always that fine balance of trying to always have that pipeline full,
Yeah.
so that you're busy. But if
Yeah.
you get too busy, you can't do that. So
And our next question relates to that in terms of having that full pipeline. So, and this is something Lindsey talks about a lot. So you have a database, and on average, year over year, that database will shrink if you don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
People leave the city, people will pass away, things happen. So what are something that you do, and because you're great with your database, to make sure that that isn't in a state of depreciation and that you're always adding?
Well, like I say, we're always doing the lead generation, right? Whether it's online or whether it's door knocking or cold calling campaigns.
So people
And
convert into.
That's right. And every time we get a
Yes.
lead, we put them into the database, we put them on the newsletter, these kinds of things, right? As
Yeah.
long as they're okay with going on them, right?
Yeah.
So that we're keeping in touch with them. Because usually when you get a lead, a lot of time, especially if you're looking for a seller lead, they might not be wanting to sell for a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. So you got to make sure that they're on some sort of a system that they're being followed up on, right? And to be honest, I do a little bit of both. Like I have a system where, of course, we put them on the newsletter and on the internet kind of things. But then we also have a book, a binder. And I have them on written pieces of paper, and I stick them into slots on when they want to be followed up with next, so that we can flip over there. So like if it's 2019, when I go to 2019, I'm going to have a bunch of leads sitting there that I can follow up with.
I
and
love
call.
paper so much.
It's just a different angle, right?
Oh,
so that
it's
you're
so
not
good.
dropping the ball, right? Like you got to make sure that you're multifaceted, right? And some people don't even have emails when especially in older communities. If it's an older couple, they might not even have emails. So how do you
Right.
follow up with those people, right? You got to have a system in place to be able to do that.
Yeah, the old tickler file. I like it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Are people impressed when you call that far in advance?
Well, I hope
sorry,
so.
not- Yeah, I bet most people don't do that.
Yeah.
No,
It's really
no,
neat.
it's so simple. It's like these little simple systems that can be repeated are just gold.
Yeah, you just have to be diligent and do it,
Yeah.
right? And I think that consistency is the key, like doing it daily, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if you can have things in your routine that you're doing every day or every week, or and that's the key, right? Is being consistent in what you're doing, because so many people will start something and then this isn't working, and they go on to the next thing, and then they go do the next thing. It's like farming, for example, is another great way of lead generation that a lot of people do. They'll farm a community or a specific group of people or these kinds of things, and it will work over time. But if you give up on it, it's not going to work, right?
Right.
So you just got to commit, and you got to do it, and you just got to, keep that approach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's change the conversation for a second here.
Sure.
That stuff is so valuable. You've actually, this is a selfish question. So you've been with a few different brokerages.
I have.
Even one with a big balloon, let's
Yeah.
say. We won't mention any names.
You don't mean the one that's full of hot air, do you?
That's technically true. That's technically true.
Yeah,
That's,
right,
that's how the balloon
I know
goes
which
up.
one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a slight. It's just a fact.
That's a fact. That's how hot air balloons work.
Yes.
So tell me, tell me your experiences. Why CIR over the other brokerages?
So, I mean, as you know, I started my career with CIR.
Yep.
Right? I left CIR on good terms, but I left for greener grasses.
Yeah.
Right? I thought that, that the grass was greener somewhere else, and that, you know, that there was a way of getting more business by being affiliated with a different brand behind me. I didn't find that to be true at all. To be honest with you, with all the other brokerages that I've been at, and I've been at 3 other brokerages before coming back to CIR, I found that there was nothing in place there. It was just literally a shell. You know, you get the office space and you get the support of the, you know, the back end staff and stuff, but there's no training. There's no, you know, there's nothing there for you really. It's I didn't find it helped my business at all. It didn't get me any more business.
Yeah.
All right. So I came back to CIR, and I mean CIR. I mean, it's easy to say what CIR has, right? I mean, you got all the training and you got all the technology and all these kinds of things. But the biggest thing that I think that people don't realize that's here is the culture, and it's one of those things that you can't explain. You can tell people till you're blue in the face that this has this culture here, and that, you know, everybody's collaborative and everybody's helping, and you know, your business will succeed if you come here.
Yeah, yeah.
But they don't get it. They don't see that, and nobody ever will until they're here and they experience it. And that to me was something I really missed, not being here. And it took me 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I left
absolutely.
for 10 years. You know,
You
or
were out
maybe
for a
even
long
more than that,
time.
wasn't it? Yeah, 10 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, coming back to CIR was like coming home for me. It felt so right, you know. And the fact that I was welcome back, and you know, it just seemed to really fit. And it's such a great growing company that, to be honest with you, I don't understand why anyone's anywhere else.
Oh, I appreciate
I
that.
really don't.
Too.
Yeah, geez,
Yeah,
exactly.
I know, right?
You know,
Testify.
I love how Ninja Don from Ninja Sales Training says, one thing that he says in his class is, wherever you go, there you are, which is something that I've personalized and I take it in, but I think that a lot of realtors in the class, that's meaningful, because wherever you go, the business practice that you bring and the commitment and how hard you're willing to work, all of that follows you wherever it is that you're going to
Absolutely.
go. And there's so many people who leave, or even who come to CIR for whatever reason, but no matter what you're underneath, it's still you that's going to be deciding your fate in some
Absolutely.
way. So to go somewhere to say, if I go here, it means this. It's like, well, if you go here and you decide to start doing these 5 things, even for people who come to CIR, we have everything in the world. But if you are you and you come here and your attitude is, I'm not going to take advantage of this, and I'm not going to put in the work, and I'm not going to go to the classes, you know, your personality is still going to dictate regardless of what you're underneath. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, you've been successful also regardless of where you've been, because you are you and you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to put in the effort.
Honestly, that's the thing. You just put in the work.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's willing to put in the work, they're going to succeed. And kind of going back to what the #1 thing you can do for repeat and referral business, which is kind of what you guys have been, you know, the theme has been and what you guys have been asking the whole time. All of these systems and all of these ideas and all these things are great, and they'll help. But the #1 thing you can do to get repeat and referral business is, when you have a listing, promote it to the 9s. When you have a buyer, go way out of the way. Do whatever you can to make that client ecstatic with what you're doing. If you can get to that level, it's all going to fall into place, because everybody watches what you're doing. They all see it via Facebook, via everything, right? So if you're going through and taking on a listing and you're using your iPhone and you're snapping photos and they come out horrible and you're popping that up there, all your database is seeing that.
Yeah.
And why would they refer you? They don't trust what you're going to do for the person they're referring. So if you can take it to a level, like for a majority of all of our listings, I do aerial photos. I get a drone up there, unless it's, you know, backing onto something horrible.
I
You know, right? But you know, you put that up. You get a professional photographer, professional measurements. Everything's done to a degree that when somebody sees it, they go, "Wow,
Yeah.
that's really well done." Now you've just taken away their objection completely of whether or not to use you again or whether or not to refer you.
Yeah.
That's the #1 thing
Totally.
you can do, honestly.
One of the things that when I speak to people about, you know, whether they're using professional feature sheets or they're using professional photography, all of that, you know, whether they have taken their headshot for our website using their iPhone, or if they actually taken the time to go somewhere and get something that, there's one thing, even for buyers and for sellers, you want to do your best by them, but at the same time, let's say you didn't. Do the best by yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's just it. Everything you do for somebody else is 100% of a reflection of who you are as a realtor.
It's true, yeah. If you can't even promote yourself, how are you going to promote the listing?
Yeah, yeah.
This
Right?
is just it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to take that as this is my quality of work. This feature sheet is my quality of work. These professional photographies or photos are my quality of work.
That's right. You should always be trying to outdo yourself.
Exactly.
Right? Everything you do, you should look at how can I improve on this? How can I make this better?
Yep.
Every single day.
Yeah.
If you're improving on something, actually, you know where I got that from? There was so you probably know Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins.
Absolutely.
One of the courses I went on with him, he had this saying, and he called it "Cani," C-A-N-I.
It's on his wrist.
Literally,
Is it really? That's hilarious. Wow.
Yeah.
Had it.
There you go. Constant and never-ending improvement.
You got it.
And you know what? That's the thing. If you can consistently do that every single day, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Compound Effect. Same idea.
Yep.
You know, if you're always compounding on what you're doing, it naturally grows, right? So that you're not having to come up with
the next 5 best things.
Like for us to sit here and talk about like, oh well, how do you stay in contact with your database? How do you get repeat and referral business? Well, I'd use this program and this program and this program. That's all just fluff.
Yep.
I mean, it's honestly a little bit meaningless. Like we can sit here and talk about it, but really, is what you got to be doing is always improving to the point where your service it speaks for itself, and people naturally come. Like build it. If you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of a mentality.
And if you never take a time to, and you don't take a time to step back and say, okay, how am I going to improve this now? I mean, people have been running doing the same thing over and over, and they never ever take time to step back.
We have one of our realtors. I'm going to name drop him. He'll probably hate it, but Blake Patrick, he's one of those people where I'll sit beside him, and the reason Blake will never come on one of these meetings is because I'll say, Blake, what do you do? I don't send newsletters. I don't send thank you cards. I'm like, so the reason Blake Patrick's never been on one of these is, well, Blake, what do you do? And literally he says, I do such a good job of he's like, everything I do, I put my heart and soul and all my time into the transaction, that it's just, it speaks for itself. Like and he's like, and it's so referable because his quality of service in his business is so unreal.
Yeah.
That
people trust him. People trust him.
The work speaks for itself a little bit. So there's something to that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in terms of that, just defining yourself by the complete excellence that you put into your work.
That's right. You got to focus on the relationship with your clients. If you focus on relationship first, it naturally is going to always expand, right? If you're focused on the transaction and you're focused on the commission, people see right through that.
Yep.
Right? You should always be looking at how can I benefit this person? How can this relationship grow? How can I make them want to use me again and refer me? If you're going to do something that's going to destroy the relationship, I mean, that's how many years worth of referrals that you just killed, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so at risk of repeating yourself with a few different things here, a two-part question to finish us off here. We have, if you were to give some advice to an experienced person who is doing, maybe 10 ends, they want to do 30 ends, what advice would you give them? And then what advice would you give someone who's new or looking to drum up business to get started? So the experienced person looking to ramp their business up, take it to the next level, and you also have it where the new person looking to get started.
So like for an experienced realtor, I would look at new avenues. So if you have already a few different pipelines that are coming in, I don't know, different sources of whether that's your current client base, or maybe you work with a couple intercity builders or something like that, I would look to expand on that. So maybe you're going to go out and get more builders, or maybe you're going to go and look at a different avenue completely to help bring another pipeline into your business so that you're creating more flow. If you're a new agent, you got to just start somewhere and pick something and go for it. I wouldn't pick multiple things. That's when you start dropping the ball.
Yeah.
I would say, listen, I really
you also
like.
Have so much money. You only have so much money.
Yeah,
too.
that's right. Exactly. So you might want to pick something that's not like, hey, I'm going to do Facebook ad generation, because you're gonna blow your budget on ads, and it might not convert the way you want it to, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you might want to pick, hey, I'm really good at open houses, for example. So I am going to open house every single weekend or every single day. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to focus on it. But I'm not just going to open house. I'm not just going to sit there. I am going to be the best open house guy there is. When somebody walks in that open house, I'm going to have all the community information specific to the community. I'm going to know all the actives, all the solds inside and out. I'm going to be able to tell them about the one down the street. I'm going to tell them all this. I'm going to know everything. I'm going to be the expert, so that if they're looking to buy in that area, they're going to want to come to me as a resource, because I'm the one that's going to be the best source of information for them.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's good advice.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
It's great advice. Mike, thank you so much for coming in and sharing that with us.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you guys having me in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. we want to thank, obviously, Craft Beer Market for giving us this great space to record this in, and remind you guys to check out agentpursuit.com, as well as follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook.
Yeah, lots of great content, including more interviews like this. So just great, hopefully a lot of business development tools, because there's nothing more important than people who are great at a job teaching other people how to be great at a job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just organic person-to-person stuff over here. So thank you, Mike.
Mike, thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.